Today we are preparing an English curry house vindaloo against an authentically prepared Goan vindaloo to find out once and for all, do they differ, which one is better, and will my body ever be the same again? Stay tuned to find out. The British curry house and the so-called vindaloo is so entrenched in British culture that in 1998 Fat Les wrote a song about it. And that song was adopted by British football fans as the unofficial song of World Cup '98, signalling to one and all, the Vindaloo is ours.
Me and me mum and me dad and me gran went off to Waterloo. Me and me mum and me dad and me gran and a bucket of Vindaloo.
But a couple of months ago, a friend of mine who's travelled all over India was lamenting the British curry house. He said a proper Goan vindaloo is nothing like that overly spiced fluorescent red shit we get here in the UK. I'm not sure I agree with this sentiment. I was brought up on English curry house curry and I love it. However, it does seem worth investigating. To find out, I have procured Exhibit A, an English vindaloo from my local curry house, and Exhibit B, a Goan beef curry cooked to an authentic Goan recipe provided by Messer Rick Stein and cooked by yours truly. But first, we have to prepare the curries. So the traditional Goan vindaloo has a very sour and acidic vinegary type flavour to it, and that is mainly attributed to this little bad boy, tamarind paste. Now, according to my mate Rick Stein, if you mix it up properly, instead of being a cheat and using the pre-mixed stuff, you're supposed to give it a much richer, more sour flavour, akin to what the Goans would eat. So we'll have a crack at that and see what we think. We've got 120 mils of water, into which we're going to drop 60 grams of tamarind paste. Give it a good mix up. We'll let it sit there for 15 minutes and stew in its juices. Whilst the tamarind is soaking, I'm going to go ahead and mix together the dry components of our marinade. I'm going old school because I like the tactile feeling of mashing things up. So it's the pestle and mortar. You'll forgive me for having weighed this stuff out like I'm on Blue Peter, but I didn't feel like you needed to watch me mess around with a measuring spoon for the next 25 minutes. So all the dry components of this marinade going in. So we've got salt, brown sugar, turmeric, a cinnamon stick, black peppercorns, cloves, whole cloves. Ricky gets very upset if you use pre-ground. Cumin seeds, cardamom the seeds from cardamom pods, which are a bastard to peel, but if you keep the husks, I'm told they make a very good chai tea, so you win some, you lose some. Kashmiri chili powder. Now apparently the Kashmiri chili powder is what gives it its flavour and its colour, but it isn't blow your balls off hot like the English version is supposed to be. We will find that out tomorrow. Pestle in hand, or mortar, not sure. Give it a good mashing. Oh, I love this bit. Think of all those people that pissed you off recently. Try not to grunt too heavily down the microphone so that your editor has to recoil in disgust. Oh, look at that. Smells incredible. Beautiful red flavour, eye in the sky, can you see? Lovely. Oh, yes. It's a bit thirst inducing, so we have to have a little sip of our tipple, which today is Tobermory 21, an excellent scotch, very reasonably priced. Highly recommend. Not so great for rehydration when you're cooking in 20-30 degree heat. But anyway, oh, look at that. Absolutely superb. Right, I'm comfortable with where that's at. That's going into the old Nutri-Whizzer. Try not to spill it absolutely everywhere. Ready for our wet components, which we shall sort out shortly. I love a good pestle and mortar. Said nobody ever. Right, dry components into my Nutri-Whizzer. Let's mess around with the wet components. So tamarind is soaking, as you know. That takes 15 minutes. So we'll move on to garlic next. So a whole bunch of garlic cloves, and forgive me for not giving you specific measurements here, but it's not my book, it's not my recipe, and I don't feel comfortable sharing Rick's stolen recipe. Buy his book, it's really good. I read a tip recently about how you can peel multiple cloves of garlic really easily. Let's see if it works. That might be the most unattractive thing you've ever seen. And vaguely works. The skins are coming off. Whoever told me that needs to go back to school. Let's go the authentic way. So that tip went excruciatingly badly, but nevertheless, chin up and carry on, chap. Cheers. Oh, such a good little drop for a Sunday. Now, next thing's next. A decent lump of ginger. Very common down in South India, where Goa is, and also utterly delicious and easy to peel with a spoon. A tip that actually does work. And we don't need to chop it up too much, as it is going into the old Nutri-Whizzer. In you go. And the same goes for our white onion, which just needs a little rough chop because it's going in the whizzer. God, I hope it's all gonna fit. I have to embarrass myself if it doesn't. It's not going to, is it? It's all right, we'll give it a little blitz up in a minute. Wet components continued. Vinegar. Very, very common in Goa, and also what gives the vinegary acidity to the Vindaloo, which is supposed to be a key component of the Goan version. So, in that goes. We'll give this a little blitz, then we'll sort out the tamarind. Well, I managed to lose the blade of my Nutri-Whizzer just before filming, so we're changing tack a little bit. We're going into the big boy. Where obviously our ingredients are stuck to the bottom of our jug. So the final of our wet components is the tamarind paste. It's been soaking for 15 minutes. I don't know if you can see that eye in the sky. The eye in the sky is watching them all. Name the movie for 10 points. Right, that now, it's very well soaked and very well mashed. The next thing we've got to do is we take our trusty tamarind mixture, strain it through a sieve, and you'll see, because it's the pulp of the actual plant, it is full of seeds, tamarind seeds. See that eye in the sky? See that? Which obviously we don't want, but the pulp itself is what gives it the sour flavour, as I've already explained. So we want to do this as properly as we possibly can. We're going to use our little mitts to squeeze out as much of that as we can. I don't think we need too much, because we only need a couple of tablespoons. Look at that beautiful stuff. Sour nectar. Right, a couple of tablespoons of that into the remainder of our marinade. Let's blast him. Woo-hoo! Look at this gear. Eye in the sky, can you see that? Beautiful red colour from the Kashmiri chilies. It smells really tart and vinegary, which is exactly as described. Oh, lovely kick of cloves. All those cardamom pods that I painstakingly peeled, can't smell them, but they probably taste good. Right, onto the meat component. I want to just briefly touch on authenticity, because when you say that, you think the historically appropriate version. But what the fuck does that mean? Because these things have been iterated over hundreds of years, millennia probably. So, a little history about Goan Vindaloo. It was introduced into Goa by the Portuguese back in the 16th century. At that point in time, it would have been pork and pork only. And it was adopted into the Goan Catholic households, where their predominant meat was pork and chicken. So way back when, 400, 500 years ago, depending on how good your maths is, it would have been pork. However, over centuries following that, there were pork shortages, people's tastes changed, there was a massive influx of tourism into Goa, and that meant that the restaurateurs started to change how they were doing things in order to cater for the tourists. The Goans, being Catholic, or a lot of the Catholic Goans who used to cook this dish, weren't restricted on eating beef like the Hindu population is, because it's a sacred animal, and so they were more willing to make that shift towards beef vindaloo, and it is what they eat there today. So when I say authenticity, I'm not looking for the purest, most day zero version of anything, but what do the people eat today in that location? And sometimes, a lot of the time, these days, that is beef. My mate Rick Stein recommends beef shin because he feels it more closely replicates the kind of tougher beef you would get in India. I went to see my mate John the Butcher, shop local, and he told me no one eats that at this time of year, so here I am with beef chuck, which is not dissimilar to shin. It is a kind of shoulder neck part of the cow, so it's a hard working bit of beef, and it benefits from braising, which is what is required by this recipe. And the acidity in the marinade and the braising of the cook will result in a very tender, probably fall apart, we'll see, bit of beef vindaloo. So I've got a kilo of chuck. I'm going to chuck out a little bit of the fat, just because who wants to eat a gobful of fat? As usual, that fat is going to not get wasted because it always goes into my render pile, and make a nice beef tallow which you can use for 1,000,001 other things. Well, cooking mainly. Polishing your dad's car, that I recommend. So we'll just whip out the very, very fattiest bit, because I loves me beef fat and I loves it in me dinner. So I don't want too much of it out, but I don't think that a lump like that is going to render down so good. So take those two bits out. Beautiful sharp knife, makes my life very easy. Last bit of fat, right, good. Now we're just going to dice it up. I quite like my beef curry fairly sizable. I like it when it renders down and you get that like a lumpy bit that you can pull apart. That is personal preference. Just dice that up into nice little bite-sized chunks. Get that in there. So you can feel a bit of gristle and a bit of fat in there as you're chopping through it, but that's what you do with this kind of beef. You can grind it up into burgers. It makes a fantastic burger. A lot of butcher's minces chuck, or you can give it a nice slow cook in a beautiful Goan Vindaloo sauce and a bit of a marinade to start the old tenderizing process, and it will come out with a bit of luck and no doubt some following wind. Very, very tender. I got me a little brisket cook on tomorrow, so that fat will go into the render pile with my brisket trimmings, and I'll probably do a video on how to render fat because it's pretty easy. The only risk of impending death is if you go too near the pan when it's spitting at you, but you got to live a little. And incredibly useful stuff, tallow. Right, into the beef we go with our absolutely beautiful smelling marinade. Get the old rubber spatula out on it. I can see the eye in the sky. I can see your mouth is watering at the prospect. I can't wait to eat this. I'm not quite, I don't feel quite the same way about the fluorescent firewater that's sitting in my fridge from the Indian restaurant, but we shall see. I'm not going to knock it till I've tried it, and I will not count them out. I've got as much nostalgia for a good English Indian as anyone else has. Right, I'm going to put my fat in there, out me way, and I'm going to give this a damn good mix up. Right, look at it. It's like a beautiful orangey flavour as opposed to the fluorescent red stuff you tend to get in an Indian restaurant, and I don't know what causes that. I'll find out if it's helpful, but this is such a beautiful like orangey colour from the Kashmiri chilies. It smells incredible. Nice sourness. Right, and that's that, sweetie pies. That's our marinade taken care of. We're going to give it a little cling film lid. It's going into the fridge overnight. So here you have it. This has had an overnight marinade and it's looking let's give it a sniff first. Oh, I said it a bunch yesterday, but it's got that really tangy, sour smell to it, which I'm presuming is from the vinegar and the tamarind paste. But the colour wise, it's a really nice reddish brown colour, and I'm expecting it to maintain that colour really whilst it cooks and not go too much redder, but we shall see. Now, onto the cook. Got a pan here over a medium heat into which we will chuck a decent amount of butter ghee, since we're being authentic. Beautiful stuff this. I once got embroiled in an argument between two men in an Indian supermarket because I asked whether they used oil or ghee in their dal. I ended up having to separate them, so there's a little anecdote no one asked for. Right, on to the next. Once the ghee is nice and hot, we'll add our onions for a bit of browning. God, I can smell that ghee nice and hot. Let's get our little tester onion. Yeah. Get them onions in. Now they get 10 minutes frying away in that ghee just to brown up a bit. Oh, listen to it. I think this is going to smell incredible. Oh, smell it. You can't, you're on the camera. Oh, it smells superb. Sourness. I've never smelled a curry like it, honestly. Oh, I just got a massive whiff of cinnamon and clove. Oh, it smells incredible. I'm just going to cook that down a touch. I had to swap pans for a bit more surface area. We're sticking it in a casserole dish to braise. We're just giving it a bit of a cook in here whilst we make the rest of the sauce up. Right, now that that's had a good chance to fry, we add to it a bunch of sliced tomatoes and some fresh green chilli, and because we don't want it mouth-searingly hot like its English cousin, de-seeded. This then will now get transferred into a casserole dish. Ta-da! And then we add about 100 ml of water and give it a little mixy mix. And then that lid on is left to simmer for a couple of hours whilst those beautiful beef chunks break down. As part of this video, I had originally intended to give a little bit of history about how the English curry house Vindaloo and the traditional Vindaloo parted ways. However, being a moron, I forgot to record that bit, but all is not lost. We will shortly be dropping a blog post on exactly what happened and diving a little bit more into the history of the English curry house culture. So if you fancy a bit of long form writing and you're interested in a bit of food history, head over to the blog. It'll be dropping in the next couple of days. Don't just eat, feast. Right, so here we are, the two curries side by side. I've got to confess, I've actually never eaten a Vindaloo before. I'm a little bit worried that they are as hot as everyone says they are. So just in case, I've prepared an authentic Indian lager beer to take the heat off. Every Vindaloo must be paired with a lager beer, as they call it. Right, I am ready to go. We start with the colours. So based on my research, I was expecting the Vindaloo from the English curry house Vindaloo to be significantly redder than the authentically cooked one. I read that as a marketing ploy, because it was supposed to be much, much hotter than any other curry on the menu, they used to dye it red with food dye in order to give the image of heat. That said though, this one doesn't look too red. I mean, it is redder. This is very, very brown like it's supposed to be. This is redder, but it doesn't look food dyed red to me. Let's give them a whiff. That one smells sour in the same way that the tamarind paste did, but it's not lacking in sourness like I'd been led to believe it would be. And this one is a similar level of sourness, but it's got the vinegary aspect to it. So now we got to go to the one and only taste test, which I'm not overly looking forward to based on what I've read about this curry house one, because I like a bit of spice, but not burning your face off spicy. Due to that fact, I'm going to start with what is purportedly the less spicy one. On the right hand side, this is cooked in this very kitchen by yours truly to a recipe stolen by Rick Stein. No, I'm joking. From Rick Stein's recipe book. It's been smelling incredible. It's supposed to be less spicy, and we shall see what we make of it. Ready? So as billed, the meat has broken down nicely, so it's really, really tender. You can definitely taste the cardamom and the cloves. You definitely get the sourness from the tamarind. I'm not getting too much of the vinegriness of it, to be honest, but it is absolutely delicious. And it's not too spicy. It hasn't got me running for the lager beer yet. Really, really good, actually. Recommend that recipe. Can you tell it's late and I haven't eaten all day? Right, this is the one I'm truly terrified of. Shall we cleanse the palate? Only with Indian. Courtesy of my friends down the curry house. They're lovely, their food's good. I'm gifted to have it on my doorstep. Let's have a crack. It's pretty good. It's actually pretty good. It is spicier. It is spicier. It's lacking in the depth of flavour that beauty's got. That's really, really layered. Maybe the marinade, I'm not sure. But that's a really beautiful curry that just keeps coming at you. That one hits you with a smack of flavour, which then just disappears and it's replaced with spice. Hot heat in your mouth. And disappointingly, it's actually not as hot as I was hoping it would be. I've never eaten one before. I've had this massive build up. I bought myself an Indian lager beer to take the pain away. I was hoping it would have me running to the toilet, to be honest, but it hasn't. So what's it all about? What is it all about? Here's what I would say. If you're in on a Saturday night and you want a hot, relatively tasty curry, the English Vindaloo is where it's at, because it would satiate you after a few pints, I would say. However, if you can be asked to spend 2 days cooking a proper curry, go and see your local butcher, get some good meat, get Ricky's book, because it is a good book, and spend a bit of time actually cooking this properly. That's where it's at all day long. I'm going to sit down and finish this now, and I'm probably going to finish this too. Oh, I'm a little bit disappointed. I was expecting it to make my eyes roll into the back of my head and my toes curl up, and it just hasn't. So maybe I'll have to try it again with a different curry house. We shall see. Right, that's it for this week's video, team. If you want to read a little bit more about the English curry culture and my worthwhile opinion on what it is to be authentic and adapted, head over to the World Feast blog. The link is in the description. Sign up, you'll get a blog post every week on something that I find interesting, and maybe you will too. Don't just eat, feast.